to the Windy City, the south side of Chicago, a team they've dominated all season long. They win the first one in remarkable fashion and then get blanked or score one run in 2 games. So they lose 2 out of 3 in Chicago. But here's the good news. I'm here with Jeff Ellis from Locked On Indians, and they gave us some help. They took 2 out of 3 against the Oakland A's, our division foes. That's right, to keep us 3.5 games atop of the American League West. So we are going to cover this. The Indians matchup versus the Astros coming to Minute Maid Park, and trade deadline talk on tonight's Locked On Astros. Let's go.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and you can find us. We are your daily Astros podcast. I am H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Astros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Eric Heisman is out enjoying some golf this week, and I'm bringing in the one, the only, the incomparable Jeff Ellis from Locked On Indians. Jeff, welcome to the show. Tell everybody where they can find you.
First, just want to say thank you for having me on. You can find me over at Locked On Indians or on Twitter at Jeff MLB Draft. If you've been curious about draft stuff, my show last week was 90% draft with some talk on, if you're an Astros fan, maybe skip Friday where I'm talking with Jason Burke from from Oakland. But other than that, yeah, it's been very easy to find at Jeff MLB Draft. But I'm here to talk about the Indians, not the draft today, even though, side note, I think relative to draft position, the Astros, I think, had a top 5 draft.
No, yeah, definitely. They did maximize their draft. And if you're wondering about prospects, you need to go to MLB Prospects, Locked On MLB Prospects. They're covering all the future stars of the MLB. Host Aaron Layton brings you player interviews and farm system breakdowns every day. If you want to know about the Astros, the Indians, whoever it is you want to know, go to Locked On MLB Prospects on Audacity or wherever you get your podcast. That's right. They have a complete coverage. So we come off this series where we came into the south side of Chicago, completely dominated their starting pitchers, Rodon, Keuchel, whoever came in and we pitched, we went against, we dominated them up until 2 games ago. And I want to blame this on Space Jam 2, because ever since Space Jam 2 came out, the Astros are 0-2. So owed to bad sequels in the movie front. But we have some reprise, like I mentioned in the intro. The Cleveland Indians played the Oakland Athletics, our division foes, and took 2 out of 3. So the Astros have been one of the hottest offenses in the major leagues, record-setting type of offense. How has the Indians season been going? And you guys are on the outside looking in, but y'all are knocking on the door, correct?
Yeah, it's been a case of like months, I guess, the best way to put it. Things were looking really good in May. I just checked the standings. They are 3.5 back. Blue Jays and the Mariners are actually ahead of them for those next 2 spots behind Oakland. Oakland and blanking on Tampa for the wild card, top of my head, I think. For the Indians, things were vastly improving. We were coming up to a very easy June. Our rotation got hurt. Plesac pitched today. That's his 2nd game back. Bieber has been gone for over a month. Savali's been gone over a month. It's 2 all-star arms down. If you look at the Indians' top 8 pitchers, like depth chart wise, at the start of the year, 7 out of 8 have missed significant time, which is more than 2 to 3 weeks due to injury this year. Some of them have been ineffective when given opportunities, but just, it's the thing I keep talking about on my show. Even you go all the way down to Double-A, the top 5 starters listed on their Double-A team had combined through mid-June to throw a grand total of 0 pitches. Just struggling with health all over. So there wasn't even a young arm to really push from the upper minors because they were down to more org arms down there. They've been kind of just moving stuff around, seeing what works. Cal Quantrell maybe is going to work out for them as a starter. They've been slowly building up his innings, and it's always a bit of a ride with him, but he's showing more effectiveness. Eli Morgan is someone I have liked back to his, I want to say, Gonzaga days. It's been one of those favorite little stories where at the start of the 8th round, I'm like, hey, isn't it time for the Indians to draft Eli Morgan? And then they did. So I've kind of, I always tell it's like, it's that story, and it's me getting the White Sox draft pick right in September 2 years in a row. Being able to look at data, predict stuff. But yeah, Morgan's, it was a rough debut, but since then he's looked better than a lot of the other young arms. Morgan is the pitcher in this series I have the most confidence in, going on the Wednesday game.
Okay.
McKenzie has the best upside. He's had some stellar games, but he was known for being a control guy in the minors. But when he's been in the big leagues for an extended period of time, he was leading at least the American League, if not all of Major League Baseball in walks, really with his command. But he's at points where he's just been absolutely brilliant. You're getting ends of the extreme with him. So I'm not confident with him going up against that Houston offense. And JC Mejia had never pitched above, I want to say low A, possibly high A. He was,
he's struggled this year. He's 1-4 with a 7.42 ERA with only 27 strikeouts. So he definitely has had his struggles.
He's been hurt a lot in his development, and that's a brutal matchup. He's the pitcher that I can't wait for someone to get healthy. And it's not to knock him, but like Sam Henches, they took out when Savali came back, which is good because Henches had his own struggles. But Mejia is the next guy who's going to get removed when someone gets healthy.
Yeah, so the Astros seem to have some pretty decent success. A lot of the hitters only have a couple at bats, but they have a lot of 1-for-2s up there. Brantley, Altuve, Alvarez, and Alvarez has been in sort of a slump. I do not know what's going on with Alvarez. He had 4 strikeouts the other day in the game. He's just not seeing the ball well. Some people have speculated, he's from Cuba, and Cuba, not to get into politics and everything, but with all the unrest going on in Cuba, and I believe he had the SOS Cuba on his hat or on his shoes or something, kind of sending a message showing support. And so I can imagine that something like that weighs heavily on these guys, especially if that's your home country, that's where your family is. And that's always a concern because I think someone had tweeted out who broke Alvarez. And I said, I don't necessarily think it's a breaking. I think it's a growing pain. You're a baseball player. You're going to go through slumps. The best players go through slumps, right? I mean, the Altuves, the Ramirez, all those guys go through their slumps, but there's got to be something else going on mentally because he's just swinging and missing a lot. But my thing is this, with the Houston Astros coming into Minute Maid Park, they actually played better on the road than they do at home. I can see them taking 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, but I don't know that it's going to be like a barn burner where they're going to score 8, 9, 10 runs. They definitely have that potential, but the last 2 games, they've only put up 1 run. They've only, I think amassed like 6, 7 hits total in the last 2 games. How is y'all's offense? I know y'all just beat Oakland the last 2 out of 3. Is your offense firing on all cylinders where your pitching is missing?
What's been interesting, so this series, Friday night, Bradley Zimmer hit a home run. And then today he hit a home run. And those are the first 2 home runs he's hit all year. He has been scuffling badly to the point that a lot of us were like, okay, it might be time just to designate him for assignment, move on, try something new in center field. And then he was arguably the Indians MVP this weekend. Daniel Johnson, who a lot of us have been looking to see for a while, who's one of the big pieces in the Yan Gomes deal from the Nationals, also had a home run tonight. There's some young players stepping up. Harold Ramirez has been phenomenal. They got him off of waivers from the Marlins. I wasn't a fan of the move. I'll be honest. I can say when I make a bad call. He's got like a runs created plus of like 110, 115. He's been really good. Bobby Bradley, who they called up, who again I was not the biggest fan of, has played quite well. They have those, and then when you got Jose Ramirez, one can make a case. It's like he's one of the well, there's no case to be made. He's a top 3 player at his position. Like, that's just end all be all. I don't see any way you wouldn't put him amongst the top 3 third basemen right now in baseball. He's been a top 3 MVP in the American League 3 out of years. So they've got those players. I mean, there's still the holes and there's still questions, but they're playing better. And the bullpen is, and that's just the strength of the team. Which is crazy, because if the Indians don't, if their closer doesn't close the save on Saturday, this is a sweep of Oakland.
Yeah,
they were very close to a sweep, but the bullpen is still like the strength of this team.
See, where the bullpen is not the strength of this team, the bullpen is the absolute Achilles heel, and there's a lot of talk, and we're going to get into trade speculations right now, and I'll go into detail more about what I've heard about Max Scherzer, and of course, I'm heel says yes, he would cost us a lot. Yes, he would. And everyone's like, well, we don't want to give away as much as we did for Greinke. But honestly, those 4 players we gave away for Greinke, there's only one that's on a major league roster playing everyday major league ball, and that's Josh Rojas. So I don't know that we really gave up too much. Yeah, we may have given too many players, but it's not like they're out there beating the world up. But you guys are 3.5 games out of the wild card. Seattle is in front of y'all. That is the surprise. The American League West has 4 teams above 500, and Mike Trout's coming back. So the American League West race is starting to heat up and becoming one of the more interesting divisions in the American League, where you thought like the AL Central, you're like, okay, that's going to be a division where I thought the White Sox, the Indians, and I thought the Twins, and the Twins have just been like nothing. I mean, they've been nothing burgers all year. And the big play, I think, is out in the East, where you got Boston, who's holding their own. I really thought they were pretenders. I thought they were paper champs. But hey, something, and it's just, I mean, they're playing great baseball. Them, the Giants. The American League is shaping up to be, I think, a fun race where you typically have a traditional National League East, National League West storyline, right? Towards the end of the season. This year, I think the storylines are going to come straight out of the AL. Y'all have your work cut out for you with Toronto and Seattle in front of you. But I think Seattle being in our division helps you guys out, because they're going to get beat up on, I believe, by the Angels. And so I think for you guys, it actually bodes well where you are, because you are only 3.5 out. If y'all can steal a couple games from us this series, which I wouldn't want, that would bode well for you guys really, really well.
No, I agree. And it's, I'm just to go back to what you said, like, I'm still not buying on Boston. Like, I'll just put it out there. It's that starting rotation is, maybe it is what it is, but I'm just kind of shocked by the performance of a lot of those guys there. Like, performing as well as they have. I've seen a lot of good first halves. Let's just put it. I think at times, we see some regression. So we'll see if it happens. Maybe I'm wrong. I still think the Rays are the team to worry about there. But I feel like with the Indians right now, they just got to get healthy.
Definitely.
And that's when you're top 3. Getting Franmil Reyes back this past week since he's been back has just shown how huge that is. Like, he's got the 5th or 6th best home run rate amongst hitters when he's been able to play and stuff like that, and top 3 starters. So I think they got a chance. It was funny when we were doing all of our crossovers before the season began, because I just had to sit here and hear from everyone why they thought like the Tigers and the Royals were gonna pass the Indians. And it was a lot of like, not saying that people thought the Indians were going to be 5th, but definitely everyone I talked to was definitely putting them on this big decline. And I'm like, hold on, they still have, a top end pitcher and a few guys in there and up in minors, and they're about where they should definitely be. So I think they're in a good, solid position to maybe sneak. I mean, this whole team is built off the idea that the one World Series we made recently was the one we had no business going to. That was the year that 3/5 of that rotation was hurt, and they learned the lesson. Hey, all you gotta do is make it and get lucky. So they are just, you have to get hot at the right time. I'm here recognizes here. Jose Ramirez is arguably top 3, but it's close with Bregman, Arenado, and Rendon. So, I mean, there is some respect for your guys there from H-Town. But I want to say this. If you're betting on who's going to make it to the World Series,
or will the Indians make the playoffs, you need to go to betonline.ag. It's the easiest way to place all your sports bets. They've got all the sports action. They've got the information. They've got the latest news. You're not going to be betting on someone who's injured. They know what's going on when it's going on. So go to betonline.ag. I myself have done that. I actually won some money during the Super Bowl. I'm not even lying. I can't tell you how much. It wasn't a ton, but it was more than I had ever won betting because I'm not an avid sports bettor, but BetOnline was my guide. So what you do is you download the app or you just go to betonline.ag and you check them out. And when you go to betonline.ag and sign up, you use a promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus. So when you deposit, they'll give you 50% of your deposit for free. That's right, for free. So check it out. If you want to bet before the first pitch happens during the Astros and Indians series, and you want to bet on who hits a home run first, or you want to bet who wins the series, go to betonline.ag. They are there for NHL, NFL, NBA. I mean, wherever you're betting, heck, you may be betting on the next Bachelorette series, which I'm sorry if you are, but if that's your thing, who gets the rose, I'm sure they've got props for that. So go to betonline.ag. They are your online sportsbook experts. With that being said, yes. So I'm gonna address some trade things here. I'm gonna address a couple things. The Starling Marte thing is absolutely not going to happen. I did some inquiring within and talked to a couple people that I know that basically they know people connected to the organization, and Marte, that is noise. John Heyman, no offense. He blocked me on Twitter, so he's soft. I don't know why a national guy would block a podcaster. Probably because I gave him crap about his horrible tweets when he's like wrong 90% of the time. He's a national baseball guy. He gets it wrong a lot.
He attacked MLB trade rumors once about their arbitration estimates. I'm like, why would you go after them about their arbitration estimates of all things? It was big. It just showed somebody who was very insecure. He tweeted some terrible information about the Indians this past week in terms of them being sellers, where it was, they could be sellers, but it's like, it was just so disingenuous. It was like, he made it sound like they're going to sell big pieces. They're not. If they're going to sell something, it's like Cesar Hernandez and Eddie Rosario. It was just disingenuous. It wasn't lying, but it was not. It's Heyman being Heyman.
Exactly. He basically said that the Astros were in with the Phillies, and I forget the other. I've got it on my phone. There were 3 teams in on Marte, and basically, I believe that from what I'm being told, that Pedro Leon is the future center field for the Houston Astros. Even though he's been playing like 80% of his time at shortstop lately, he is the guy that they have out there. They are not going to do that. And then also Max Scherzer. So the person I'm speaking of, Michael Schwab, he tweeted out, and whenever different people tweet things out, some people say sources say this or whatever. He basically stated people that are close to the situation say that the Astros are considering Max Scherzer, are in talks with the Nationals. Now, I don't know how deep that is. I don't know what that entails. What I'm hearing, Jeff, is that Max Scherzer doesn't just want to trade. He wants a trade and an extension. So that changes the game. Now, Jim Crane has told our GM, we are willing to go well over the cap. There is no cap. Just go. Just go get what we have to do. Crane wants to win now, and I get it. I think he wants to get 17 off his back. I think he wants to win a title outside of 17 and prove that his club is a world champion without this trash can thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a stigma, and I think that bothers some of the upper echelon up in the Astros organization, because you're a billionaire owner, right? And you want your organization to be at its best. And a little side note, and I'll kick it over to you, Eric. Like I mentioned in the beginning, Eric is golfing this week, so he's out enjoying himself. He will be back. I will have some different guests on throughout the week. Y'all should enjoy. So, Jeff, are you hearing any rumors about the Indians and their trade possibilities?
Yeah, they're exploring things. They know what they have as a team. But big thing, and anyone who listens to Locked On Indians knows this is like the drinking game I've made up, is whenever I discuss roster crunch. They are already they have like maybe 2 to 3 weak spots, and then they'll have some free agents. They might be able to easily move about 7 to 8 spots. I've been covering the Indians since 2008 or 9. Since that time, they have never had a roster crunch like this. The most I've ever been like is there are 6 players they have to add. They need 12. They need 12 spots, and they don't have 12 spots. So they're going to just get absolutely – there are so many teams like Baltimore and Pittsburgh that nowadays they're going to draft multiple guys in the Rule 5, and they're going to pay other teams to draft players for them. We saw that happen with Pittsburgh this year. They know they're bad. They're embracing the tank full on. So they'll try young players. And if the Indians don't, I think they're more likely to be buyers than sellers for that reason. Like, they have to package 3 or 4 prospects to get someone with control. They need to turn quantity into quality, move a little bit more, try to get some proven talent. I know, like in our group chat, I was talking about when Dylan and Ethan were discussing a Pirates Braves trade, and I was like trying to get in to steal Christian Pache for like 4 prospects from the Indians just because they need to do that, with Pittsburgh being far away. But that's exactly what they're likely to do. Just looking at, I mean, if someone really wanted Eddie Rosario, I think they would look to move him just because of cash. He's having a bad year. If some team needed a catcher, they'd probably move Roberto Perez, because if you move Perez, you move Rosario, then it opens up a little bit more room. There's been a lot in Cleveland in The Athletic about them adding a new minority owner. Basically they got taken out at the knees when John Sherman went to Kansas City. He had up to 30% of that team, and now 30% of that team is in escrow. They're waiting for. I didn't know that. Yeah, okay. That's essentially where, when you see all of the money cutting coming, John Sherman was going to eventually own the Indians, and then the Kansas City situation occurred. That's a team. That's his hometown team. You decided to go there. So let's do
this, Jeff. Let's get you a GoFundMe account started, and Jeff Ellis can become the minority owner of the Cleveland Indians. I mean, why not? You've been covering the team for 15 years. What say you? If we can get the money raised, you think the Indians would take it?
I think as long whoever's got the money, I think they'll be fine with it. I mean, I don't have any criminal record. I was that kid in school.
And you make that locked on cash, bro. You make that cash money, man.
I make that big time money. I've never been in trouble in my entire life, so I think that I would be an easy sell. But then you'd also have to deal with all of my negative comments and statements about certain players in the organization. Not that I've been like running people down, but just when you run this podcast, we see. We're going to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly, and
right here we got
the good and the bad and the ugly. How much money will it take? I mean, the Indians were valued at a little over $1 billion now, or a little short of $1 billion.
So 30% of $1 billion. So
you're looking at like $300 million.
Chump change. What are you talking about? That's like half of my. That's like 2 months of locked on payments right there.
Yeah, just about, more or less. That's. I just do the teaching on the side for fun. That's purely what that job.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't teach for the money. So hey, here is a question for you. It says, if you don't make the playoffs, do you sell this offseason the entire team because you can't get good prospects and Nolan Jones is ready to come up too?
Jones is ready to come up. They don't have a great spot for him right now. He's playing in the outfield and looking a little bit better there. Jose Ramirez is officially now kind of at his 13-month watch. He is going to be traded in the next 13 months just because I don't think they're going to be, they can't pay him. Even if you get a new minority owner in place, I don't know if they could. There's a better chance of like a Shane Bieber extension than a Jose Ramirez extension just because Bieber's further away. But with Bieber and Savali, I don't think they would move them. So I don't think it's going to be a full sale because they believe in their system. It's Tyler Freeman. Some people like more than Nolan Jones, and he's in Double-A. And they're Will Benson, who was the first round pick the year they took Nolan Jones. I talked about before the show, but he was struggling horrifically for his first 4 years in the system. And right now he's got the highest runs created plus on the entire Indians minor leagues. Wow. And the 4th best amongst players in Double or Triple-A who have spent time in center field this year.
There you go. Yeah,
all of baseball. So you guys moving up. Pitching is not as much, I'll be honest. It's definitely kind of an organizational weakness. I know that might be funny to people out there who follow the Indians, don't follow the Indians, that they have pitching and organizational weakness. But yeah, they're going to be, I think they'll probably be chasing different players than the Astros. I do think if Bradley Zimmer doesn't work, which he has not most of the year, they don't really have a ready-made center field help anywhere relatively soon. And they're not going to look at the same level of pitchers. Yeah, right, I mean, exactly. They tried to go for him before he went to Arizona. So there's maybe a small chance again where they try to acquire him but I don't know if they're so anti-rental. But I mean, like, you guys are chasing Scherzer. We're more likely to chase someone like Wade Miley, like at different ends of the spectrum. So while I think both teams are going to be shopping,
hey man, Wade Miley's got to know.
I should say.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Wade Miley no hit us this year.
So,
I want to say, right? Didn't he even no hit the Indians?
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
one of the
I was
3
going to
times
say
they got no hit.
Exactly. And, that's what's weird. So I covered Wade Miley when I was writing for Climbing Towels Hill and he was on the Astros. I wanted to pick, I was like, I don't know what's right about all year. They're like, pick a player and follow him. I was like, well, no one's following Wade Miley and I think he's going to have a great year. Well, kind of find out I was Nostradamus for a hot minute there. And I followed him all the way through his success. At one point, I remember writing about how he had more consecutive starts with allowing 3 runs and less than Scherzer, DeGrom, and like all these names that were on there that were on this list. And then he had that sudden fall off. And so that was kind of fun to write about in September. I actually met him at an RTIC store. He signed the 8x10 photo, the Miley Chronicles, but hey, thinking about that and thinking about how it takes a whole lot to get through a 162 game season, I can imagine that Major League Baseball players and even the USA track and field team probably would like to grab a Built Bar. Tell us about Built Bar.
So what I always tell my Locked On Indians listeners is, they're a sponsor, but this is a product I buy. This isn't just me talking about something because they're like, hey, talk about it. They sent us free trials and I fell in love over a year ago. I'm on order 5 or 6 from them. I'll be honest. And when you use the code LOCKED15 and make sure it's LOCKED15, I had some people trying to use the wrong code. That's the same discount I get as a repeat customer. As a repeat customer, I get 15% off codes mailed to me. So you're getting the same deal that someone who has previously bought from them gets. And they're all great. I love in our own chats where we discuss our various flavors that we love. And what shows that they're all great is it's not that we all love the same one. There's love and different things to love with Built Bar. And there's always a promo going on. There's always out. And on top of the fact they're absolutely delicious, they taste great. When I put them in my little health food app, it gives it an A grade. So it's delicious and it's good for you. And remember, when you go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 because A, you're saving money, and B, that helps us out. So check out Built Bar. I also talk about my show. I'm someone who's gluten-free. I know that can annoy some people, but it's more because it just makes me feel better. And it's a gluten-free bar, and I've tried a lot of gluten-free bars, and most taste like building material. So if that's an issue for you, go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's excellent because I know us in our house, I talk all the time about how our refrigerator is constantly packed. And when we get a flavor that we like, we make sure we order multiple boxes because they fly off the shelves.
Yeah, I got 3 grasshopper boxes upstairs for that reason.
Nice. It says, so he said the Astros, so this is I'm Heel. I think the guy the Astros should talk about getting is most likely to come here, someone like Blackman or Tapia. Now, Tapia, I believe, is dealing with some injury issues right now from the Rockies. Blackman would be an interesting get, but I don't know that they want to fill the outfield with a veteran that they're going to have to pay a lot for, especially if they have someone coming up. I really think, hey, I've got the Chasmanian Devil shirt right here that was created by Breaking Tees. I'm sporting that. I'm trying to decide which one of the 4 new shirts I got from Breaking Tees. I'm going to the game Monday. I'm going to the game Tuesday, and I've got a pretty good record, Jeff. They've won a lot more than they've lost when I've gone. I can't say they've won every game, but I'm going to try to bring my mojo and hope we can take the first 2 and get the series from your team. So if they do that, you can blame me. You don't have to blame me
as a good Indians target, just to throw that in for you. If you're going the other way from both of us, he not a rental would be someone that the Indians might target.
Exactly. No, and I mean, Tapia is a nice player. Tapia is one of those guys where he's not really talked about a whole lot, but he's got a high ceiling. He's got speed. He can hit. He plays a decent outfield, and so those are 2 names that I haven't heard mentioned, but that is definitely some interesting names. I still think that if the Astros are going to go, if they're not going to go all in with the Max Scherzer type of deal, that they have to go get someone like Scott or Fry from Baltimore. They've got to get Soto from Detroit. They've got to, look at these pitchers, and even Rogers in Minnesota. Some people have talked about, what is his name? Kenta Maeda. I know he's older, but he could be an innings eater. There's so many names that are out there. And the truth of the matter is nobody really knows unless they're James Click or Jim Crane. Nobody really knows unless you're the GM of the other team that they've been talking to. But like I said, I do know that this Max Scherzer talk is legit. The question then becomes, how much are you willing to give up? And here, Jeff, here's an interesting perspective that was given to me that I hadn't thought about. Because someone said, wait, you're not willing to give up top prospects for a really good trade, but the Astros rank in the bottom of MLB, like 23rd at the most, at the highest. They have one of the worst minor league systems in the entire league. You're not willing to trade any prospects out of that system. He said, it's not like you're sporting a top 5 prospect list. And I said, you know what? That makes sense. We only have one top 100 prospect, and he's injured, Forrest Whitley. Outside of that, we have our top guys. We have our Pedro Leons, our Corleys, the guys that we think as a fan base are going to be somebody. But what do you think? In our situation, are we really giving up too much if we're a bottom tier, or does the bottom tier, top tier not matter? Because is giving up a good prospect always just giving up a good prospect?
I just, in defense of the system, I would argue, I think like Pena and Leon are both guys who are at least, it should be in the debate for top 100. I would probably, maybe I'm being too high on Pena, but I've liked him since his University of Maine days, right? Mm-hmm. He was a developmental guy then, but he keeps plugging along, and
because he's actually injured right now. I don't know if you knew that. And so he's kind of come off everybody's radar of moving up. Pedro Leon is the guy, but Corey Lee is the guy that is killing it in AA. We've got a guy in AAA right now. We had Jake. Oh gosh, I just interviewed the guy. I know his name is Jake. Oh my God, I just completely lost his name. But he's crushing the ball. He's hitting home runs left and right down there in AAA Sugarland. And so, Jake Myers. Sorry, Jake Myers from Nebraska. And so I'd
forgotten you guys had Ronnie Dawson. I saw him so much in school. He's one of those guys that could be like a 4th outfield type that, I mean, I know he's not a big name prospect, but I don't know. I get stuck in the weeds. I spent a lot of years making theoretical Indians Astros trades for Miles Straw just because I liked his athleticism and walk rates in AA. So I can get really badly in the weeds if I let myself. But I mean, they've got Joe Perez was a big name as a pitcher / third baseman.
He's making a comeback.
He's starting to rebound.
Yeah, he's starting to rebound.
I know those aren't like the big names. Those aren't going to help you with Scherzer. But the thing with the Dawsons and the Perez's and the Jake Myers as well, they're not the centerpiece. Those are the guys you need to have after you trade those. It's like you talked about earlier. I mean, Burns was hurt. No, Corbin Martin, right?
Corbin Martin, yeah.
Yeah, he was hurt when that trade went down. So it's like there's still value in players. I mean, but at the same time, I sometimes wonder how much that ends up hurting Houston. Like,
exactly.
Beer has not performed as expected, or like Derek Fisher was just let go by the Blue Jays. Some of those players that came up through this. So teams get leery or wary, but I mean, I think you gotta trade something to get something. And if you're I've always said with the Indians, it's like they had their window. Like I like the team. They can still, anything can happen, but their window was 2 to 3 years ago, and I always wanted them to go a little bit more all in. They're kind of instead doing this, we're never going to full rebuild approach. So I mean, again, if you trade and Tyler Whitaker and Alex Alua, like those two guys are going to enter the top 10. And technically one could be traded as a player to be named later, but they're going to keep building. They're going to keep adding. And especially if you can, I am all for trading guys in the lower minors. Like if I look at this team, if some of those lower pieces can excite a team and be a centerpiece, I think I would go for it. I'm always of the variety though, that like if you got a window and you believe in it, go for it.
So let's do this because we're right at 34 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and finish the show. If you want to, you can stick around. We'll do an after the show. And what I'll do is I'll send you the audio that is within this. So everybody, if y'all are listening, hang tight. Just make sure that if you're betting on the Houston Astros or the Cleveland Indians, it doesn't have to be a guessing game. If you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling, get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favored picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day, follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get your podcast. That's the show. We're going to come back for a few minutes at least and do a little after the show so we can continue this conversation. I know we got more questions from our viewers. If you're listening, that's why you should be tuned in to Locked On Astros on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. We are one of the fastest growing and the only daily Astros podcast. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. We're out. And I hope everybody's still here hanging out, hanging around. Jeff and I are still here just a little after the show, another maybe 5-10 minutes. We can talk around. You wanted to throw a little compliment out there, a little thank you, he said.
I just wanted to say, thank you to Jeremiah for the kind words. It's always nice to see. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, here's the thing. One of the big questions with the Astros is if they go over the luxury tax, over the tax threshold, they might as well go all the way over. I mean, why tiptoe over the line by $1 million or $2 million? Just freaking leapfrog it, like jump that bad boy, right? But
when was the last time they were over? Like they're not in that window,
they
right?
have
because it's like the 2. Well, it's the 2-year window. If you go crazy, right? It's after 2 years you get hit hard,
right? Well, here's the
and Scherzer is technically a rental. I mean, if things,
he is a rental, but if the rumors if what I'm hearing is true, which I put a lot of stock in my source, that Scherzer is not looking just to be a rental. He's looking to go to another team and have an extension included in the deal, like a 2 or 3 year extension. So I don't think Scherzer wants to deal with going to free agency and having to go to another team and all that crap. I think Scherzer's like, I want to go somewhere and I want to compete. Like he just won the World Series in 2019 against us, regrettably. Oh gosh, that was such a frustrating World Series because like every home team lost at home. It was insane. But if they go over, dude, they might as well, because the penalty doesn't change, right? I mean, does the penalty change the more you're over? Does it become worse and worse and worse?
Well, it's just the more you're over, the more you're going to pay. So it's just the higher one. So it's like, every dollar over that amount, you have to pay like double. Like essentially, you end up paying that payer salary twice. So if he pushes them beyond that one level, it's like if they go 10 million beyond, then they have to pay the pool $10 million as well. So it's like a double pay. Which if you're Crane and you don't care, the big thing from what I have always understood is more about the repeater penalty. Avoid the repeater penalty. I know that's an issue in the NBA as well, but I know I do have to double check the draft pick penalty that goes with it. Now, again, maybe if you're Houston, you don't care because you've already lost like those super high picks. But there is that degree of penalty of draft pick loss that kicks in. But I guess, yeah, I mean, I see someone is pointing out, it's like they do have Verlander and Greinke expiring
coming off the books. And from what I hear, I do not believe Verlander's coming back because I've been asking. I was going to put this back up. I Am Heel says, if it was up to me, I would go all in as an Astros fan. I would get all the pieces we need. Say we are trying to win it all, no excuses. Now, Jeff, with your baseball prowess and in your years, because you have a lot more experience covering the sport than I do covering it. Craig Kimbrell, okay, you get him. You've got 2 years of control with him, okay. You give up a bunch of prospects, or Max Scherzer, who you're going to give up prospects, but you get him as a rental and possibly if you can get him with an extension, who do you think are you willing to give more away for, a Max Scherzer or someone like Craig Kimbrell, where you have a really good lockdown closer in Presley, and a setup of Kimbrell and Presley would be almost unstoppable? Like, which one holds more value, or is it hard to tell?
I always go starter. Like I always go for the elite starter. And you're going to get as many innings from Scherzer this year as you might get from Kimbrell the next 2 years. And then, I mean, I can agree with what I'm seeing in the chat there. Like I also have some Kimbrell reservations. He has been a little too up and down. Like I'd almost rather see like if I was running a team, it's like Rodriguez in Pittsburgh and Scherzer with the Nationals are kind of like, if you could do two together, that's kind of like what I would like to target. I was just kind of curious. I was going to see if I could pull up like, now it's always weird with WAR and relievers because it is such a small one, but I was kind of curious, like who, just technically speaking, have been the top end relievers this year. And let's see, I mean, of course, now this is when my computer is going to slow down the minute I try to click on something. I mean, Kimbrel is number 1. Presley is number 2. Rogers, who we talked about, is 6. Rodriguez, who I mentioned there, is 7. So, yeah, I mean, those are the guys who have been and Fry, who you mentioned, is 14th. I also just kind of like the idea of Fry because Baltimore is going to allow you to trade further away assets. And I'm all for trading guys as far away as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So I had this question. Actually, guys, for those of y'all listening, we will have Larry the GM on the show Thursday night with me. It's going to be a little bit earlier show. It's going to be about a 6:15, 6:30 show because I've got to go try to kill myself playing some volleyball that night. I just played my first basketball game full court. We had 5 players against a team that had 9, and I believe I almost died. I had an outer body experience where my right calf locked up on me going for a rebound. But hey, I scored 7 points, 2 layups, and a 3-pointer, nothing but net. Thank you very much. But Larry the GM, I digress. Sorry, I do like to brag about myself because I'm getting old and those things are very few and far between. But Larry the GM said, what if we get Brad Hand? Would we get Brad Hand with Max Scherzer? Whoa, that would be then you're talking about the Nationals just like stripping it down, you know? I don't know.
It's interesting with that.
Would be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just weird too, because like I was looking at that with just that team today, because it was like I don't even know who put it out there that like they were looking at Chris Bryant. I'm like, why would they look at Chris Bryant and trade Scherzer? Like, I think you could get Hand and because I mean Hand is, I believe, a 1-year deal. Okay. I mean, anyone could have had Hand. The Indians waived him last year, and no one claimed him because they didn't want to pay the $1 million buyout for Brad Hand. I actually, I haven't paid enough attention, I'll be honest, with the Nationals, so I don't even know how well Hand is pitching this year, but I assume he's got to be pitching pretty decent with the way people are reacting. He is what he is, and he's definitely a useful guy, is kind of a rubber arm reliever, but if they're going to sell Scherzer, then you should definitely trade a Brad Hand just because, like I said, I believe he's a rental. Like, why wouldn't you trade all of your rental pieces? I think it would just be smart. And let's see, he's got he's been good, but not great. Like his FIP is okay. He's not been like dominant. So I would see no reason they couldn't get both. And I wouldn't think he would cost a ton extra because again, he's a rental reliever.
No offense to the Astros relievers, but I'd rather see Brad Hand go in than Brandon Bielak right now. Bielak is having a rough season. Stanek went in and had, I think, 2 2/3 innings today or the day before and actually did really well. Stanek has been very, very hot or cold. Stanek has shown a lot of really good flashes of brilliance, and then he's been very susceptible. Rayleigh has literally been put in difficult situation after difficult situation. And so a lot of the stuff that he's given up, I think he's been put in situations that weren't ideal. And that's one of the things I'm learning, Jeff, and maybe you can speak to this and we can kind of wrap things up on this note. When we evaluate relief pitchers, I know that you can't just look at the ERA of a pitcher to truly evaluate how good or bad they are. But a lot of times relief pitchers, if you don't consider the situations they're being put into, and let's say they have a high ERA or they have a low success rate, they may not be a bad pitcher. They may just be put in high stressful, tough situations. Is that fair for me to say that in evaluating relievers?
Absolutely. Like for a long time, honestly, like I was working on trying to make up my own relief stat, which was like trying to weigh the value of, okay, so a player comes in it's like a high pressure situation, like weighing the pressure of like runners on base when you come in or coming in the 9th to save, like trying to figure that while also just looking at situation by situation, because in your reliever, you have one bad outing. You can't make up for that outing in a month. Like it can shift everything. So I think it is one of those situations where if you're just looking at like ERA, it's going to be hard to judge a reliever. I often, it's like I need a guy who misses bats and doesn't hurt you with the walk. So I especially with that position, I'll often look at like strikeout percentage and walk percentage more than other stats. When I was first getting into like advanced numbers back in the day, like 2007 is when I kind of started looking into some of the, and in 2007, the advanced numbers I was looking into and learning about were like on base percentage and OPS, which are now pretty commonplace. But I started to look at WHIP, and it's now been shown that WHIP is not a great indicator stat, but it's similar ideas of just you need a reliever who can miss bats, and I always kind of look at that number, and that's one of those things like looking over at this team right now with the Nationals. Daniel Hudson might be the more interesting reliever. I don't know what his contract situation is, but he's been absolutely nails for them, striking out 37% of the time, batters that face him. A FIP of 2.64. He's like I said, I'd have to look at his contract situation, but it's really interesting to kind of look at some of those guys. But I agree, you got to look beyond ERA when you're evaluating reliever.
No, exactly, and I think what Jeremiah says here too is key, that the Nats will want one of our young starters. I'm telling you right now, if we're talking about trading, they are definitely asking about guys like Christian Javier, guys like Brian Abreu, and those are two pitchers that I really do not see Strom or the Astros willing to part with, because they've got way too much upside. Abreu, they see Abreu as a 1 through 5 starter. Javier, they see him getting there eventually. I mean, we've got Urquidy, we've got a weird situation where we've got a lot of good promise in our young arms. We just lack those when our starters don't go for long innings or long outings. We have way too much inconsistency in the middle. A couple years ago, we had Brad Peacock and Colin McHugh. Gosh,
Peacock's with the Indians now.
I know. I mean, why couldn't we? I know, man. I mean, Peacock killed it in 17, but and just Colin McHugh, why they didn't sign Colin McHugh? I just looked up his stats. He's having a great year, and he's not getting paid that much. I'm like, why didn't y'all just get the guy? I think Colin McHugh, because he joked a couple weeks ago on Twitter. He said, guys, I tried, because there were a lot of Houston fans adding him. His wife is a native Houstonian, and so they have a lot of ties to Houston, and everybody loved him when he was here. And so it's just one of those. So that's the thing. I'm Heels saying I would give them Abreu in the max deal. See, you would, but I think he's Brent Strom's guy, and that may hold some weight when it comes to what you do with them. But then again, if the brass says they go, right? I mean,
I wonder if, you said Brandon Bielak's got shelled, but he could be the guy too. He could be that young pitcher that they consider moving.
True, because he does touch. There's a lot 96.
Of people who liked him as a starter.
Yeah, he does touch 95, 96. He's got speed. He has the ability. He's shown the ability to strike out. He's shown the ability to get outs. He's just really struggled. Maybe a guy like that, they could say, hey, Bielak is the guy. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery. Maybe he just needs a different taste, and I mean, that's what happens. These pitchers, these guys go and they go to different places and they succeed. But Jeff, I think we're going to cut it off there, just because I definitely want to get this stuff to you, and I just appreciate everybody hanging on. This is great conversation. I love your knowledge.
Thanks for having me.
No, yeah, dude. I mean, dude, I'm a sponge. One thing I've learned, because I'm a teacher as well, is I never act like I'm a teacher. I'm always a learner first, because if you become the teacher and you stop learning, then how can you teach other people to learn, right? One of my favorite professors, Dr. Wallace Roark at Howard Payne University, is a Christian philosophy professor. Every year took 2 classes, one class in the spring, one class in the fall. And he said, we asked him why he did that. He goes, because you should never stop learning. Phenomenal mind, one of the smartest men. That had the greatest respect for him. And so I'm always learning, and I daily make mistakes, and listening to you and your knowledge, it's like, dude, I freaking love listening to what you have to say. And I almost came up with this stat, and I'm like, that's freaking awesome, dude. You're my hero now, So, man, thanks for joining the show. I really appreciate it. We'll definitely have to have you on sooner rather than later, especially when Eric's here. I think all 3 of us on here would have a great conversation. But hey, I would say good luck to the Indians, but then I would be wishing my guys bad luck.
No, I understand. I'm not going to wish you good luck either. And I hope no one's offended by that.
That's right.
I will say I think we need the wins more than you right now, but I think it's going to be a fun series. I just think at the end of the day, it's a fun matchup, and I look forward to watching the games.
And I tell you this: if you ever make it to Houston to watch an Indians Astros series, you let me know. We'll make sure you get the red carpet treatment, and we'll make sure that you get to experience H-Town the right way. Okay.
Texas is one of the few states I have not made it to yet. I maybe shouldn't admit that, but yeah, it's one of those things I've got to make it out to at some point in time.
We can make you an honorary Texan. We'll leave you. We'll get you a come and take it shirt. We'll get you a Texas flag hat. We'll get you a shirt that says "Howdy, y'all." I mean, we'll just get you all. We'll get you some boots. I mean, we'll just get you boot scooting out here, man. But hey, again, thanks guys for listening. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse with Locked On Astros. Remember, we're on YouTube. If you're not watching us, we're on Twitch. We're everywhere. And Jeff Ellis is great. He's with the Locked On Indians host. Even if you're not an avid Indians fan, why wouldn't you want to listen to him? The incomparable knowledge that he holds and the experience he's got, definitely beneficial to any MLB fan out there. Part of the great Locked On network. So guys, y'all have a good one. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. We're out. Go Astros, not Indians. But Jeff, what do you want to say before we sign off?
You can find me on Twitter at JeffMLBDraft. And everyone, thank you for all the kind words. I really appreciate that.
Definitely. Y'all have a good one. And this H-Town Wheelhouse, we're out.